Hello everyone and welcome to Sewing Saturdays. My name is Gina and today I really was thinking about it. I've been looking all your comments and eventually I will start making a couple of the things that you guys want to do, like makeup bags and table runners. But since Halloween is approaching, I decided that I was gonna show you guys how to do one of these bags. Over the years, even my kids, when they used to go for Halloween, we always sometimes had to carry extra bags because they would take a small bag because you don't want the bag to be hitting the floor, and by half of the night they want more room, so we would have to always have extra bags. So a lot of people sometimes used to tell me, some even my customers used to tell me they used to give their grandchildren pillowcases to take for Halloween so they could had lots of room. So that's where the idea came from, to do like a pillowcase bag. So really we're gonna follow the same kind of way of doing the bag. So if you see in here, it looks like all crunched up because this bag is gonna expand. So we're gonna go here, and if you see, I'll open it here and I'll expand it here. And I started with a small bag, but now I have a really big bag. And the way I did my handles here, I actually left here some room here. I don't know if you can see. And I put a snap here because I attached the handles on the bottom here. And in here, it's really good for those, to hang little things if they want to, those little lights that sometimes they carry around. They can hang it here and it will look kind of an interesting idea. The bag, I made it more thinking of Halloween, but I'm sure you can find a lot of usage for this bag. So let's get started. It's a really quick project, so it's very easy. And you don't need a lot of fabric. It's just a couple little things. So this is something that you can make even the day of Halloween, because you can whip one of these pretty fast. So I'm going to give you all the materials that we're going to need, and then we'll get started sewing it so you can make your own. I'm going to put this one to the side because I'm going to show you a couple of options. As you see here, my handles here is on the outside of the bag here. On this bag that I'm actually going to show you, I'm going to actually put the handle on the inside of the bag. And I'm going to show you why I want that way. I decided afterwards to change it. Okay, so I'm going to put this one here to the side, and we're going to get started. So I picked these Halloween prints that I have here. So I have 2 pieces of fabric. So what I did, I cut from the bolt. I only cut about, this one I think is about 21 inches off the bolt. And of course my fabric was folded on the bolt. So I just took the 21 inches down, and all I did, I just trimmed my selvage off. Then I got another print. That's for my top part that I have here. This part that I have over here. And this one I use a 10-inch. And I did the same thing on the fold. The fabric was folded on the bolt. And so what I did, I just took a strip of 10 inches and I just trimmed my selvages. So they should be exactly the same size. So the folds together here, and then this way they should be exactly the same size. If they are slightly bigger, trim it off to make them exactly on. Okay, so I'm gonna go here. I'm actually going to trim this off slightly, and I don't have my cutter here, just a second. Okay, there you go. So I'm just going to go here and trim this off. Let me just push it here so you can see. So I want it exactly the same size. Make sure you don't cut the size that has the fold, because you want this to be a big long piece when you open it. Okay, so then you're gonna need 2 handles, and I already went ahead and sewed my handles, but the size of my handles that I have here, the length, you can choose whatever is good for your child, or whatever the bag that you're making. I think I have here about 23 by, and the width of my strap is 2 inches. Okay, so when I sewed, I end up with about 1.5 inches. So, and what I need, I use 2 fabrics, one for the front, one for the back. I sew them together, right sides together, and what I did, I flipped it inside out. If you want to make it more simple and you don't want to do all this work, because on mine I even use fusible fleece, I've used one of my fabrics. But if you don't want to do that, if you want to keep things a little bit simple, you can cut this strip of 5 inches. Okay, here I have 10, but I'm just going to show you. So I would have a strip of 5 inches, that would be my strip. This is 5 inches right here to here. And I would cut whatever length I want from my strap. Then I would fold this in half. And then after you crease this in half, you can fold in, and then do it this way, and then you just do a seam here. Then you don't have to fuse anything. It just keeps your things a little bit easier. It's another option. So you would do a 5-inch strip. This is my piece. I don't want to cut it down, but you would do a 5-inch strip. Then you would fold in half and iron it, then fold this side into your middle where you folded, and fold this one right to the middle where you folded. Then you would go here, fold it again, and do top stitch here, and your handle would be done. So you would end up with your handle like that. Hope that helps. So if you don't want to use 2 fabrics, and you don't have to use fusible fleece, it just keeps the cost a little bit down. So for the little tabs, the ones that I use here on my string, so I can keep this down, I use 2 little pieces of 3 inches by 2 inches. Okay, and what I did is I sewed these together into a little tube like that. So I sewed here close to the edge. I turned it inside out. Right, I turned it inside out, and then I sew them. After mine is turned inside out, I fold it. I'm gonna bring it closer to the camera, and you know, this is my seam, so I kept my seam to the middle when I iron it, and then I sew them across here, right there. Then I open my seam and flip it to the right side, and this is where I'm going to be putting my strings through, like that, for my tab. Then after I had my strings, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take it to the machine, and I'm going to do a seam here to separate my strings. All right, so let's get started. So I already have my 2 tabs done. I already sew my straps because I have to start with my straps. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with the bag. So I'm gonna open my fabric here. So it's folded, so I know my middle is here. And since I'm not gonna be sewing on this side, and I need to find my middle this way, so I'm gonna take this to the wrong side. All right. And I'm gonna find my middle, so I'm gonna fold it in half and find my middle, and I'm gonna crease slightly here so I know where the middle is. So now I need to center my straps. Okay, this is still folded, okay, and this is the fold of the fabric here on this side. It's open here on the bottom, this side and this side. So here, because it's the fold, there's no seam. Here I'm gonna have a seam. So I need to center my straps. So if I center from here to here like this, and I'm gonna be sewing here, so the distance from here to here and the distance from here to here is not gonna be the same because there's no seam here. So whatever seam allowance that I have here that I'm gonna be using here, and I'm gonna be using 1/4 inch. Okay. So I'm gonna mark that 1/4 inch here, and this here was my middle, right? So I'm gonna move my middle a little bit over, about that 1/4 inch. Then that will be my middle. Okay? So now I'm gonna center my straps by this part here and not by this one here. Okay, so probably better instead of you doing your measurements, so you have less of a problem messing up. You can definitely just mark your 1/4 inch here, there, and then bring that 1/4 inch to your edge of your fabric. Probably this will be a lot easier than measuring, so less of a mistake. Then you go this way, then you can tell where your line should be. All right, so I think that's a better way anyway of doing it. Okay, so mine is about here, so that's my middle now. So I'm gonna get my straps, and as I said to you, I'm gonna center my straps on this bag here. I'm actually gonna put it to the back. So, but I want this to be, doesn't really matter which fabric I want to the back. So my middle is here. Let me bring it down so you can see a little bit better. Okay, so this is my middle here that I marked. Okay, so I'm gonna go about 3.5 inches this way. 1, 2, 3, and about half, and I'm gonna center my strap there, but I'm only gonna catch one layer. All right, so let me just grab a pin. So from my middle, 1, 2, 3.5, and I'm gonna center that to one layer. And the same thing to this side, 1, 2, 3, and about half. Okay, let's put that back there. Let's see, 1, 2, 3.5, and then go 1, 2, 3.5 there. Okay, and another pin there. Again, just one layer, don't put it to both layers. All right, so we're gonna do that. We're gonna, then if you want to make sure, then what you do, you bring this to the back, and since you already have these ones here, you can just grab your other one and do the same thing exactly on the same spot to the other layer. Right, so you go here and you sew it there, and you go also here, find where your other one is. See it right there, and in my back I can see it here, so I'm gonna match it, put it there. Okay, so you can end up, if you open this, you're gonna end up with something like this. All right, so this was my middle of the fabric, and I have one handle on each side and the wrong side of my fabric. So I'm gonna go to my sewing machine. I'm just gonna secure these in place. So I'm gonna go here and secure them in place, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back. I secure my strap, so I can now take my pins off. Trim any unwanted threads that you have around. And then we're gonna touch the top. Another thing that I'm gonna mention, on this one here, my handles, as you see here, they were attached on the right side of the fabric. So the straps end up coming from outside to up to the border. On this one that I'm making, I'm actually putting the straps in here. So they're gonna come from the inside because I want on my bag this to fold down. But if you prefer this way, again, you can do it this way. You can attach these straps instead of doing on the wrong side of your fabric. You can attach it to the right side of your fabric. Okay, there's just an option, so you have a little bit more options. If your fabric is directional, make sure that the print is facing up. Since mine is all ghosts and they're, in case you're wondering, I think this is called Happy Ghosts or Happy, let me see, Happy Halloween from Northcott. That's what it's called. Okay, so now as you see, we just have to sew it and you end up with the bag. So I'm gonna get now my piece for the top. So I'm gonna get this here. And we're gonna open this into that tube, that long tube. Again, if your fabric is directional, your print should be upside down. So like you would have to put your print upside down in order for when this is folded, that would be upside, because you have to see this is going to end up like this, right? So you have to plan that. But in this case, I don't have a direction fabric, so I'm just going to get my border and I'm going to get my fabric here, and this is exactly as you do normally pillows. So you get right sides with right sides together. In this case, I have my handles here, so I'm going to push them in here, but I'm going to put my fabrics together this way. So right sides and right sides together. All the way through. Okay. Then you're going to get your fabric, you're going to fold it. With the handles and everything, you're going to fold this like this. All the way in there. Okay, and then you're gonna bring your border up like that. You're gonna put pins. Make sure you line them up properly. Okay, put some pins so your fabric doesn't move. Right, and you're gonna take this to the sewing machine and you're gonna sew about a 1/2 inch. Your seam allowance will be about a 1/2 inch, and you're gonna sew right across. Right, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and I'll be right back and show you how to do the next step. Okay, so I'm back. So I went ahead and I sewed this all the way across. Just make sure when you sew this that you don't catch any of your other fabrics that you put it in there. Just make sure really all you're sewing is just those 3 edges. Okay, so the 3 edges only. Okay, so now what we're gonna do, we're gonna take this out. I'm gonna go here, and you're just gonna take this all out. Okay, that's the back, that's my front. So I'm gonna take this to the iron, and I'm gonna press this really well, pushing these up. Okay. When I'm done that, I'm gonna fold this like this with right sides up, just like that. I'm gonna match my border here. Of course, you have to press this really well first, okay? And we're gonna sew this all the way around like that. Not this side here because it's on the fold, but on this side, okay, on the right side, a 1/2 inch in. Okay, so I'm gonna go iron it and sew this here and here. So 1/2 inch. You're gonna sew here. Make sure you match these so they look good. And you're gonna sew a 1/2 inch in all the way around. And I'm gonna go do that and I'll be right back. So I'm back. So I went around and I sew my 1/2 inch. Need to trim some of these threads and some of these strings. Probably wondering why we're sewing on the right side of the fabric, but this is to create that French seam where our strings are gonna go in. So and normally if you do pillows, this is exactly the same process, you just don't put any handles. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn this to the other side, to the wrong side. I don't know if you notice, I only saw the bottom and this side that was folded, there was no seam. Okay, but now we're gonna go to the iron. Okay, we're gonna iron these perfectly. Straight. Okay, like that. You're gonna bring your seam right to the edge. And then we're gonna mark. So don't forget to press it first, okay? Because it's very important that you press it. Because then you end up with the seam right on the right spot here. Right at the edge here. And then from there on, what we're gonna do, we're gonna mark around here about 3/4 of an inch. Okay, so we're gonna go here, mark 3/4 of an inch all the way around, except the top, of course, because we need an opening. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead first and press this. Mark my 3/4 of an inch in, and then I'm gonna do a seam where that line is. I'm gonna go like that and like that all the way up. Okay, so it's gonna go all the way around this way, and this way, all the way up. And I'll be right back. So I'm back. So I did all my seams all the way around, and I just wanna remind you of securing this part here on the top really well, because this is where our strings are going to come through, and we need, when we pull, we need this to be really, really secure. So just go back and forth a little bit and secure it really well. So after you've done that, we're going to go here to our bottom. Okay, we're going to mark corners. So I'm gonna do about 1.5 inches. Let's see, 1.5 and 1.5 from my seam allowance. So where I'm measuring is from here in here, 1.5 inches, and from the bottom to the top 1.5 inches from the seam. All right, so we're gonna make a little square here. Okay, so like that. So from our seam, from here to here, 1.5 inches, from here to here, 1.5 inches. And we're gonna draw a square there. We're gonna get scissors, we're gonna cut it. And we're gonna do the same to the other side, to this side here, the bottom. So gonna do a little cheat right now. I'm just gonna put my square on top, and I'm gonna put it right where my seams meet, there and there, and I'm gonna get my scissors and just cut it. Okay, so now this is what you're going to do. You're gonna get your string that you have here, that I have here, and I'm gonna cut two pieces, for one for each side, but I'm gonna do double, so the sides. So let me see what we have here. So we have here, our bag is about 21 inches. So I'm gonna do 21, a little bit extra. I would say about 26 inches times 2. That would be one side. All right. And another piece for the other side. So after you have one that you already cut, you can just grab the other one and just measure them the same. Okay, so I'm gonna go here, cut another one the same. Now I need to pass this through my opening here. Okay, so I'm gonna get in a safety pin or some. I have a little tool to pass elastic, so I'm probably gonna use there. I'll be right back. Let me just grab the tool. So I'm just gonna be using this little tool that's normally I use to pass elastics. But if you don't have one of these, just use a safety pin. So the way you're gonna do it, you're gonna have your piece folded in half. If it's a safety pin, you're gonna put it through here, right on the fold. And then you're gonna start from the top down, and you're gonna push it, these strings, to here where you have your little square. The folded part of your string stays down here. Right? So leave it out a little bit. I would say about an inch out, and leave it. Then we're gonna do the other side. Then what I want you to do is, you see this seam that you have here? Now you're gonna open this. Okay? So you're gonna open, you have this seam here and that seam here together. You're gonna fold one to one side, the bottom to one side, and the top to the other side, so you don't have as much bulk to sew it. And we're gonna do a seam across here. Again, I want you to go over the string back and forth a little bit, just secure it really well, so when we pull, that string doesn't come out. So we're gonna go here, this side, do the same thing. One to one side, and in this case here, let me see if I can show you. My bottom here, this is my bottom of the bag, it's already folded for this side, so I want this other side to fold to the same side, so it folds flat. So I don't want to do one this side and one this side, because then it's not gonna look right. So we're gonna fold to the same side, the bottom one, then the other one we fold to the opposite. All right, with the seams matching. So I'm matching my seam right on. Okay, and I'm gonna be doing a seam across here, and I'll be right back. Again, make sure you secure it really well where you have your string. All right, so I went and I sewed my corners. As you see, it's like that, both of them. If you have a serger, you can go ahead and serge these edges and leave it like that. I don't like leaving my raw edges this way, so it's either I use a serger or I have to finish it. So what I'm gonna do here, I'm actually gonna cut my string. And I'm gonna kind of have my seam allowance here to about 1/4 of an inch. So I'm gonna trim it off. And then what I'm gonna do, I have a little 2-inch strip here that I had left over from my straps. So I'm gonna cut a piece just slightly bigger than that there, than my bottom. And then what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna do 2 pieces the same, one for each side. And we're gonna do like we do binding, okay? So either you can fold, so what I like to do here when I do stuff like this, I put it on top, as you see, like that. And I already fold this in here, but sometimes because this is a little curvy, it's a little bit more difficult because it's not straight. So you see it has a curve here. So you can definitely, but I think I'm going to be doing it this way. I'm going to do it open first because it's going to be easier for me to fold. And if this is too big, I can always trim it. So what I'm going to go here, I'm going to attach this there. Where my seam, I'm even going to follow my seam, what I already have here. So I'm going to put this in the bottom. I'm going to match my edge of the fabric with that. And I'm going to do a seam across in both sides. And if you want, on this case, you can fold it already in, matching the tip here. See that? Matching my, slightly over my tip. And I'm gonna do the same here. Just slightly over. I'm actually gonna fold it. Okay, same to this side. So I'm putting my right side down, this on top. Again, I'm gonna fold it. Just matching my tip. Seam, seam, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So just trim if you have threads, even the fabric frays sometimes a little bit, just trim it. So this is where we end up with that, like that. So now what you're gonna do, you're gonna fold that like that, fold your fabric into your seam here. So I'm gonna, since this is folded, it's a little bit easier. So I'm gonna fold that in like that. I can even put it slightly under. And then I'm gonna refold that there and there. And then we're gonna do a seam there. So I'm gonna put a couple of pins. And at least it's finished. Okay, so you're gonna do that to both sides, and I'll be right back. Okay, but actually before I go, so you know you gotta do that to both sides. I'm gonna show you to put these little tabs, right? So we had the little tabs, I told you how to do it. It was a 3" by 2, and we sewed here. We flip it inside out, and then we sew them. After it was flipped inside out, we sew it here. We open the seam. So we're gonna get this little tab flipped inside out. That's what it looks like. And I'm gonna get my strings. I'm gonna put them through here. Right? Like through there. And then we're gonna do a seam in here. Here and here, just to keep the strings in there. Make sure you don't sew the string down though, because this has to pass. Alright? So you're gonna do that to both sides. So I'm back. So I did a zigzag in my tabs. I used white, but probably you should be using maybe yellow, you know, because it will blend nicer with the fabric. I just had white in my sewing machine and I didn't change it. But it's better if you do the same color, it looks nicer. Right, so put a knot on these edges so they don't pass through your little tab, so it stops from your tab coming out. Right? So, and I did my bottom there, sewed it across both sides. Again, if you have a serger, just use the serger, it's faster. Then you're gonna flip it to the right side. Little threads coming out, trim it. Just be careful, don't cut your fabric, because that had happened to me. Just trimming a thread and I cut my fabric. Your bag is done, so we're gonna go here, pull, make your bag smaller. Okay, no options. I put the straps from the inside on the outside of the fabric, as I show you what I was doing, and this one here I did mine on the outside. The reason that I wanted to put mine on the outside, on the inside this time, because I want to be able to have my yellow folding, so it will look like that. Let's see, I'll put it down so you can see. See, my yellow folds, and the bag is even slightly smaller, if you can see it. Right? On this one here, because my straps are on the outside, I can't, the only way I can fold it would be in. I wouldn't be able to fold it out. And on this one here, you see I put a snap just to make this a little taller. Okay, so if I need a really tall bag, then I snapped it. I can also fold this in, but you don't really see it. That's why I decided to do this one the other way. On this case here, you can also, if you don't want this to fold, you can go here and sew it, or you can add snaps like I did in that one. I probably will add snaps because I want the option, if I decide that I want this to go up, then I want my bag even bigger, then I have that option to pull this up and use the snap and have that part up. Okay, I think we're done. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope this gave you a lot of ideas to customize your bags and make your own for your kids, or you know, maybe for a different use than Halloween. Well, we'll see you next Saturday for another video. Happy sewing, everyone, and thank you for watching.